have to be correct, it has to be precise, short. So please give us a few tips on how to make our speaking more clear and impactful.
You read in a book, a sentence
Mm.
you heard in a movie, you met four people for lunch and you heard them say something. Now, how do you memorize these things? I think when you like just go like, oh, she said this. I think when you kind of repeat it, like, you know how when we were children, they would say,
Pronunciation. So, what should a person do in order to self correct or improve their pronunciation without a teacher? Because not everybody can afford to learn under a teacher, and maybe.
and ask you a question in a language, you should be able to answer and respond exactly in that language.
Mhm.
Because that I want people to be so confident that they can code switch between them.
Well, good morning. How are you doing? It's really nice to see you.
I'm doing well, Shantha. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on your podcast. It truly is a privilege being here. Thank you.
Uh, Okay, so how has your day started? Are you having a busy day today?
Not so busy. My weekends, Sundays are more busy for classes and all, but I did have a class before this. So I did wind it up, pretty rightly on time to get onto your channel. So
That's
excited,
great.
looking forward to.
Yes, you have a very contagious smile. So when I was going through your videos, I had to stop and hear you out.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we'll start off with your introduction. So please tell us about yourself.
Certainly. As I think people know by now, my name is Sonika Shetty. I have recently gotten into teaching with Speakeasy Studio. I've started this thing for myself pretty recently right now. And my background is I used to be a practicing advocate a few years ago. And from there, I realized that I liked law, I liked some aspects of it, but didn't enjoy practicing in the court as much. So I decided to take a break and I got into teaching. And I started teaching as a visiting professor in a college for a year. And I truly enjoyed that experience. So then I got into teaching entirely and started teaching law, went on to teaching advertising ethics to mass media students, also taught editing to journalism students. And that's when I realized that, hey, besides law, I think I would love to teach English subjects as well. From there was an opportunity to move abroad. So me and my husband went to Canada, and it was a new experience for us. We didn't have a job for us or anything over there, so we went over there, started from scratch, worked at McDonald's for a few months, and while doing that, I got a job at Apple Canada retail, and it was a great experience. And I loved what Apple was teaching me, but I still missed the teaching aspect of it. So when COVID came, I thought, let's take this opportunity of remote learning. And I enrolled myself in a course with the Toronto District School Board. And it was a teach English as a secondary language program, which obviously I had heard of what it was, and I Googled it. But what the course entailed took me by surprise because in Canada, the program is primarily for refugee and newcomers and for immigrants in the country. So it was a whole different student expectation. The ages were different. In a class, you would have students ranging 14 to 70 years old. Like there is no age bracket in those classes. So having done that, that was a great experience. But then it was time to return to India. And 2 years ago, me and my husband moved back. So after coming here again, I was like, should I get into teaching? Should I go to a college to teach? But I thought it was time to, do something on my own now. And when I thought about it, it seems teaching English and just connecting with, younger kids, homemakers, working professionals just seemed the right feel. And that is why I started Speakeasy Studio to get on with that experience.
Mhm. That's quite an experience and quite a journey. You have varied experience, like you practice law and then teaching. So I think you're a very adaptable person. Like even from India, Canada, and then again coming back, I think you adapt well.
Yeah, I didn't know I could, but I feel like that sometimes you change professions for other things, but you realize other aspects about yourself. So I didn't know I was adaptable until unless I moved these roles and I realized it's not easy to start from scratch every time, right? So I've come to realize that as I'm growing older every day, that wow, like that must have taken some effort. So yeah, sometimes I forget, but I do remind myself, not bad. Like, I would like to think that I'm a seeker of new adventures. And my adrenaline does not come from skydiving or from doing bungee jumping. I think for me, adventure is these things, learning new things and trying new things in terms of, professions, meeting people, that.
That's great. It makes you feel okay. So, since you come from a legal background where language has
Yes.
to be extremely precise, you have to be correct, it has to be precise, short. So, please give us a few tips on how to make our speaking more clear and impactful.
Okay, I think you use a great word because I, in my videos, always use the word impactful because, especially in a courtroom, you have to be impactful. Just using good vocabulary is not going to make a difference because you are here fighting for someone else. Like here, the speaking matters a lot more. And to make it impactful, what I saw seniors and other lawyers do was firstly, you need to know your subject matter really well.
Oh.
So if you don't know what you're there to discuss, you are going to be fumbling. You're going to be and that is why I always try to remind myself also is that what are we here to do? If I'm in this courtroom today and if I need to defend a person and what is the matter at hand, you need to
Mm-hmm.
know it well. Once you know that confidence, it's easier to project yourself.
Mm.
Keeping subject matter aside, now you know your subject matter, you're in a court. It's really scary to talk in front of senior judges,
Yes.
because they are famous, they have so much experience, and their faces are very, there is like no expression, because
Mm.
for them, they have to see 100, 150 cases a day. They don't have time to make small talk and smile with you. So you really have to, like, get on with the program and tell them what you are here for and leave. What I think has helped over a period of years is mirror practice. I didn't realize I was doing it, but my dad told me this years ago that before going to work, when I would get ready, I would keep talking to myself in the mirror, but not realizing it. So what I
Mm.
was doing it was practicing things like sentences I would want to say, that my lordship, today we are here to present so and so. Just get it out of your head. And a lot of this is very subconscious. It is happening automatically. I'm not thinking I will do this. I think that it helped me a lot, because when you hear yourself talk again and again, you hear the sound of your own voice. When the words start coming out in a courtroom or any place, a boardroom, a meeting, anywhere, you feel confident because you know what you are here to say. So I think these things have helped me: knowing subject matter,
Mm.
being clear, and keeping it short and impactful, because you don't want to bore someone with a 1 hour thing. There isn't enough time. And also, I think mirror practice has been a big thing. I think I still do it now. Like I said, if I'm just walking here and there at home, also, I'm either mumbling to myself or there is something happening. So my family members now know just to ignore me, because most of the times I'm talking to myself.
Okay. So talking to yourself helps. You need to keep
It does.
revising or yes.
Something you read in a book, a sentence
Mm.
you heard in a movie, you met four people for lunch and you heard them say something. Now, how do you memorize these things? I think when you like just go like, oh, she said this. I think when you kind of repeat it, like, how when we were children, they would say, practice, practice, practice makes perfect. I think anything is that.
That's great because even I have this weird habit of talking to myself. Even as a kid, my mom still keeps telling that you have a weird habit. You used to keep talking to yourself when you entered the apartment till you reached the home. So we used to keep wondering who is with you, but you have this weird habit of talking to yourself. So I don't
I
know
think
the reason.
talking to oneself is an underrated skill, because you don't need an audience. You are your own audience. You have your own subject matter. So I feel like firstly, you never get bored if you do that. You love the company of your own self. Plus, I think it's great practice. Yeah, I think I have heard the same thing from my parents and now my husband also. Now I think he's learned to ignore me, because sometimes I'm just walking past him in the house and just like talking to myself. So I think it could be strange for someone else seeing you, but I think it's a great practice. I think it only makes it better for you to practice your skill.
Definitely, yes. And since you worked in Apple and you were also training immigrants and refugees back in Canada, so what were the biggest speaking challenges they faced? And do you see the same patterns in Indian learners now?
This answer is like a dual answer, yes and no. I'll tell you the Canada experience is that those learners have come into Canada for a very
Mm.
specific reason. They've
Okay.
come here either because there was a safety concern to themselves in their country. So for them, this is a safe haven right now.
Mm.
So though they're very, very, very thankful for the opportunity, they've mostly come from countries where they have not spoken a word of English. So I had students in literacy classes who were 40, 50 years old. They had their 5 or 6 kids or kids also in the class with them. So just imagine to start literacy at that late in life. But Shanta, what I did notice was that sometimes they say that when your back is against the wall, you have to do something. So for them, it was no way but forward. When you're put in a situation like this where you have to learn English, because in a country like Canada, how are you going to live your life? How are you going to ask for an apartment? How are you going to apply for a job? To make money, you need English
Yes.
to even get that opportunity. So I feel like even though they're older, sometimes their age or very young or whatever their life's experiences have been, they know that now to move forward in Canada, they need language. And sometimes, right, adversity can be a really good teacher.
Mm-hmm.
I would see them put that extra hard work. They would ask, they would be no shyness because they know that this is a life skill that they need. And if they don't do it, they will not be able to progress in this country. So I feel like, they say necessity is the mother of inventions. I think necessity is the mother of perseverance. It
Mm-hmm.
teaches you that you have to persevere. There is nothing you can do. Other languages are not going to work here. People are just going to look at you blankly because they don't know how to help you either. So that I think was a big challenge teaching there, but also the students came with that grit to class that in 1 year's time or in 2 years' time, I will make sure that I speak English enough to get a job. On the other hand, in India,
Mm-hmm.
because we're all well versed with basic English,
Yes.
like even our parents will not be able to write an essay, will not be able to write a full blown like a IELTS examination,
Mm.
but they know passing English. Like when
Yes.
I would go to my native place every year, my grandmother would be like, in Tulu, she would go like, you want to drink tea, she would not say cha, she would say tea. So I used to think, wow, look at them, they started using words like tea, tomato, and like potato, like these words they had already interchanged. So in India, we've not escaped English. Even in the most ruralist places, there are like words that we have just imbibed in our language. So I feel
Mm.
like a sense of English is there.
Yes.
But because we have so much regional language or Hindi around us, we never truly get to practice it.
Yes.
This is the complaint I hear most from people around us, or even the students, is like where to practice, whom to practice with. You're talking to someone and the Hindi and English becomes English. With your native tongue and English, it becomes. I also notice when I text people, my messages are mixed. It's English, Hindi,
Yes.
depending. If it's my aunt, there's some Tulu, Kannada words also in it. So I think we have just grown up in such a multicultural language nation that sometimes English is never going to be our primary language. And that is where students don't get enough opportunities to practice.
Mm. Yes.
So that
And
for me is the big difference that I notice in
mm.
teaching English to English learners or people who want to get better at the language between them learning in Canada and them learning over here. Then the desire is there, but the needs are very different. And I
Yes.
think that need pushes you.
Mm. And now it is like if a person has their interviews like in 1 or 2 months, then again they're going to put in 100% effort and then their need
Correct.
changes there. But for regular people who are just learning English because it's nice to be equipped with languages and you never know when you have the opportunity to use it or prove
Absolutely.
yourself. In that case, it's like, what if people judge me? What if I make a mistake? These things like take priority.
Yeah. And I feel that this, like what you mentioned right now, right? It's a little temperamental also. We are having a bad day. Somebody said something or judged our English. This is, I'm going to learn English. You get on with it. 1 month down the line, you're like, yeah, it's helpful, but I think I'll manage. I think this is what happens in India because there is a word, at least in Hindi in Mumbai, we use a lot. It's called kam chalao. Like,
Okay.
काम चल जाएगा, right? Yeah, काम चलाओ. Like, you speak English? काम चलाओ. Like, just enough to get my work done. And I
Mm.
feel like this happens in India. But of course, if you're at a workplace and you have American clients, or you're working with, foreign nationals, with your company in India also, then of course you feel like I need to get better at this. And I feel like people and employees like that put that effort, they like listen to videos, they try to make their accent better because sometimes they're unable to understand our accent and vice versa. So I feel like there is a desire and the need. Everybody wants to really get proficient at English. But like you said, that need and desire, right? It's constantly, I want to do it, but not right now. But I want to do it, but not right now. I think that is something they're constantly struggling with.
Definitely, yes. Okay, so I went through your Instagram and I noticed your pronunciation is flawless, including the food dishes of different countries. You pronounce them really, really nice. And many of us in India struggle with pronunciation. So, what should a person do in order to self correct or improve their pronunciation without a teacher? Because not everybody can afford to learn under a teacher, and maybe a teacher will tell you will repeat, but it is not going to happen every single day. So, for people who want to self correct their pronunciation, do you have any tips?
My tip, a personal tip would be that I did when I was growing up is listening is such an important life skill, right? Which I think people ignore entirely. We hear, like you said, we don't listen. And if you also see that between reading, writing, listening, and speaking, listening is always going to be at the topmost. Because if you don't understand what is said to you or what is asked, how are you going to answer? And that is where I feel like with pronunciations, the best thing to do is use that speech is silver, silence is golden. If
Mm-hmm.
you're not sure, just try to stop talking, start listening, start paying attention. If you know somebody in your circle who you think speaks really well, listen how they are saying. Listen how they're using words differently in different situations. Today we have TV, today we have subscriptions, more than hundreds.
Yes.
You'll agree, Shanta, when we were growing up, there wasn't that much English TV available to us. Like I know when I had just entered grade 11, that is when Star World and Z Cafe were new and English shows. Like I watched Friends for the first time in grade 11 and no subtitles on TV then.
Yes.
So I tell people that don't think of like, oh, TV is only bad, only content. There's great content out there. And today with YouTube, with Instagram, and these subscriptions, there is something for everybody. So the only way to make your pronunciation better, of course, is by speaking, but you have to start listening. You have to listen to different accents. Okay, watch a British show, watch an American show.
Mm.
Two words or a sentence, they both will say so differently in terms of pronunciation and that. And you need to know this to know which one works for you. I'd never
Yes.
advent that you only have to speak an American accent, because you know what, I personally love the British accent. Not, can't say it entirely, but
Mm.
even in North America, a lot of times you have to change the way you say words. But I always kind of stuck to how I spoke. But I will be honest with you, I had to say I have a master's. I love
Oh.
dancing, because the Americans love to do that. But now that I've
Mm.
come back to India, I'm going to say
It's back.
masters, I'm going to say dancing, because it's, I think, a personal choice. But to make that personal choice, you have to be aware of what is available in the market. And that is why make use of subscription. If you've paid for these, there is content out there which you can hear, watch. I mean, of course, you'll also get the entertainment aspect of it, but entertainment can be a two-way learning street. You can also learn on the side.
Mm.
I'm sure you will also agree, every time you see a show, say a British show or some show which was made in Ireland, and you will come out knowing more about their history, more about their language, more about why they say this. Like I watched a Irish show called Dairy Girls, and in that they kept calling babies wains, like Wains. I've never heard that word before. So now that I'm watching more Irish shows, I see that they use that word instead. So it's great to know, right? I mean, vocabulary is never ending. Like you said,
Okay.
Spanish pronunciations, Italian pronunciations. I had so many friends from South America and Canada. So I used to always listen to how they were talking. And it's so good to listen to because their language is so soft, it's so fast as well. And that's the
Mm.
reason why, if you listen and keep your ears open, there is something to learn every day from everyone.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, that is my thing. That pronunciation, you know, in fact, people learn by even again the mirror technique, the shadow technique, whatever
Mm.
works for you. But I
Yes.
would say start with listening, and then from listening you can only shadow if you listen to someone. So I think listening is where we begin with. That is the basic step. Then there's only going upward.
Yes, and when we are talking about pronunciation, I just remembered many of us Indians have an MTI, mother tongue influence. So, is it the
Correct.
similar kind of practices? If we are going to practice, we are going to get rid of it? Or, see, when a person reaches up to intermediate stage, then they want to go to the advanced stage. And MTI is one thing, it is quite challenging for them to get rid of. I've seen fluent speakers, even trainers, they have such a heavy accent of their mother tongue. So is it like, can we follow the same practices like shadowing and listening properly, or is there any other technique that they can do in order to get rid of it?
There is under neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, there are various ways to get rid of your mother tongue influence or your primary language influence. I personally feel that, you know what, keep the influence. Like if it's coming naturally to you, personal choice. I do know that in some places you need your accent to be neutral. So for that, I think again, shadowing works great for that. So
Mm.
you have to find someone you like the way they speak. Essentially, it's like emulating someone, right? And that is the whole idea, right? I mean, imitation is the best form of flattery. So the whole idea is that if you think that you like the way someone speaks, try to model yourself how they are speaking, and eventually you will find your own voice.
Yes.
Every person, no matter I think how much shadowing you do, you are going to find your own voice, and that is only going to come when you try 10 things. And that's why I think my biggest ask for everybody is, and I think continues for me also, keep trying every day, try something new. You don't know what works for you when, and something will just hit right and you will know I have arrived.
Mm, exactly. And you have seen a lot of learners, right? So, what are the most common pronunciation mistakes that Indian learners make without even realizing? So, maybe if they watch this video, they'll realize that, oh, yes, even I pronounce this like this, but this is not right. It has to be like this. Would you like to give a couple of examples?
I think one of the very common ones is ask and then asked. I feel like a lot of past tense words which have an ed at the end, we try to go hard on the ed. And I think, like you said, the mother tongue influence along with that then kind of elongates it, like I asked her, right? So it just feels too heavy in the mouth. I think the ed at the end, absolutely. The other words I hear people mispronouncing, let me give me a second, let me think about it. Like recently while teaching students, I have seen they are confused with words like LOVED is loved, but then beloved is BELOVED. But why is it not beloved and it's beloved? So I feel like sometimes it's hard to explain to them why. And how many times do you just say that English is a funny language, or English has all these bizarre rules? But I think more or less people have an issue with just the way they have heard a word. We use a lot of redundant words. We use return back, free gift. So we use a lot of these words, which I think we can skip it. We can make our language more crisp. But I feel like as Indians, we kind of elongate it. We make a sentence almost three sentences long. That is because of using redundant words. There's a lot of and that's also coming from a place that people are also translating in their minds.
Yes.
And that is what I really want people to try to not do, is that try to stop translating and try to learn and use language, English language, as an independent language. Because everything, if you translate from Hindi, it is going to sound slightly bizarre, structurally wrong, and also won't make enough sense and won't be impactful.
Mm. Yes.
Right, so I think these are the common mistakes I see people doing, that they're constantly like, uh, yeah, I will also be able to do that. Like they'll use a lot of these articles, prepositions that are here or there. In, on, at, I think is something that we really struggle with. And I think in, on, at is something people struggle with in general, because there are a lot of these rules that are happening in the background, which now, if you are already a B2 or a C1 level speaker, it's become it's become natural to you, because natural speakers or native speakers have grown up speaking this language. They
Yes.
may not be good at grammar, but this language comes to them effortlessly, because how we learned our mother tongue, they learned English that way.
Yes, and when it comes to translation, many people do this. I talk to different people, or stop. Don't worry about small things. So
The
this is very
Hindi, yeah,
natural.
like alag alag, exactly.
Yes, and
Yeah,
it's
double
so
words,
difficult to
redundant
get
words,
rid
that's
of
what,
it.
because the brain is constantly like, okay, how do I say this, how do I say this? And I get that, because they are using the Hindi language or their mother tongue as a bank, that this is where I've saved all my words, let me make use of that. But then that sometimes makes the word redundant, or also deems it slightly unnecessary. So my goal is to stop translating, learn English as a fresh subject, and try to use it fresh, so that your English and Hindi are both separate. So if somebody wakes you up from your sleep, I always say this, like in the middle of the night, and asks you a question in a language, you should be able to answer and respond exactly in that language.
Mm.
Because that, I want people to be so confident that they can code switch between them, because there's no need to be only fluent in English. It is great. You should keep your regional language. You should know Hindi or whatever language that you want to know. So don't feel ashamed of it. Don't feel like, oh, this is it, I'm done with Hindi, now I'm a professional English speaker. No, you should know which language and who's your audience. One other thing I always tell all of my students is, the idea of learning English or being good at speaking doesn't allow you to be mean to someone or to put someone down. And I see this a lot, that with Mr. Shashi Tharoor, having such a great vocabulary, and people talking about, the Tharoorification of English and things like that. Though it's great, the language is so flowery, it makes you think. But the thing is, it's not possible to speak like this daily. Mr. Shashi Tharoor goes to BBC, speaks in the Legislative Assembly. He
Yes.
has these forums where people understand what he's saying, or at least value it. But that's why I keep telling people that everybody wants to learn big vocabulary. But if your audience doesn't get you, then you failed as a speaker. And that is why I think it's very important that you tailor your language as to who's in front of you. You wouldn't speak to your grandmother in the same English that you would talk to your peer, because you have to understand that there is a age difference, there is also a cultural difference. So the idea of language should never be to put somebody down. It should only be used as a tool of communication. I think that is my motto in life, that everybody should learn this.
True, and you brought up like Shashi Tharoor, right? So everybody knows about that he has a like vocabulary. Everybody keeps asking in the
Correct.
speeches or interviews as well. Tell us like two new words today. So
Correct.
even your vocabulary is really good when I see you making reels. So what is your technique? How did you learn new words? And is there any technique that people can adapt to not only learn new words but also use them at the right time while talking to somebody?
The only way I see and I try to use it is that if I hear a word that I haven't heard before, I write it down earlier, or even now write it down, or keep it on my phone now, and try to, try to make sure that I say sentences where I can use it. So
Mm,
you have to try to involve it in every sentence that you can, or more sentences, to get your tongue to accept it.
okay.
So the other day I read a word, it said ebullient. I had not heard the word ebullient. And I was like, oh, look, this is what it means. So now I'm just trying to use it everywhere, as much as possible. And Shanta, if I try doing this at least for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? This word is going to become a part of my knowledge, my brain knowledge. And now whenever I think of this thing, this word is just going to come out of my mouth. So I keep telling people this sometimes, right? You have to force involve something. So the other day I was talking and my husband's like, what's this new word? I was like, I'm trying it out. So let's just go with it. Because if this is not a regular word, you just have to kind of push it in your conversation, and you will know exactly where it sits, right? And once your brain goes like, oh, this word sits so well with this sentence, that's it. You're done. Every time you say that sentence, now that word is a part of it. So I think that is how I try to do like word association and like sentence association, just so that I know that if I'm angry, I will use these adjectives. If I'm very happy, I will use these adjectives. So I think over a period of years now, my brain has compartmentalized these words. So I think I always used to hear my brother used to tell me that when we were growing up, when I would get angry and I would like get into a verbal, discussion or a fight with someone, my vocabulary would just go like high, high, higher. And that is just because I think my brain is, I think, I've compartmented in such a way that the minute I get angry, there are these 20, 30 words that I have saved and they naturally come out. So I realized that without thinking, because when you're angry, you're not thinking, your just words are coming out. And in that time, if my brain can find these words, that means you just have to feed this in your brain. Once they're up there, you'll be able to use it. Your brain will be able to use it when it wants to use it. So honestly, it'll become so automatic. So but the thing is, practice, practice, practice. Like my mom said this growing up about math, and I hated math, but I think that formula applies over here, that practice will only make it perfect. If you do not practice, it won't. And if you don't have an audience to speak with, if there are people around you who don't appreciate all these amazing vocabulary or don't have enough English speakers, record yourself. Today we have devices. Record yourself, voice memos, see how you sound. Because when I started recording myself, I think 2 years ago, I was like, oh, this is what I sound like because I had never recorded myself. And I was just like, oh my God, this doesn't sound good. Like whatever I thought it would sound like. And then I would just keep doing voice memos. And today I think I have more than 300, 400 voice memos of just my voice of saying some sentences and everything. So I think today we have everything on our phones. You do not even have to step outside anywhere. So let's make use of it. There's dictionary on the phone, there's voice memo on the phone. You can hear yourself, you can edit yourself. Let's use technology and learn the language you've learned, and we can only make it better.
Actually, it happens with me as well when it comes to the vocabulary part. I never know, like I might have heard a word like few days ago, and suddenly it pops up sometimes. And
Yeah.
without even trying, it pops up. So it just gets stored in your memory bank whenever you feel that, wow, this word is good. And if you've heard somebody using it, I think celebrities are the best people to learn new vocabulary from because they keep using words. I think Priyanka Chopra a little too
Absolutely.
hi-fi, but other than that, also, if you watch celebrity podcasts, interviews, Karan Johar shows, and all, you get
Even
words.
Abhishek Bachchan, I've
Yes,
recently seen some of his interviews, and I like the fact that, of course, Priyanka Chopra has amalgamated the American accent and the language really well. So that's the reason why they love her as much as Indians love her also, because they can connect with her just the way she speaks. So I think that's a great skill to have. With Abhishek Bachchan, I like how he enunciates, takes his time, and speaks, and of course uses good vocabulary, but he's also not rushing. So I think there are a lot of celebrities out there, and again, if reading a book or just like watching shows is not your thing, and if you like people like something like that, watch videos. Anything and everything can be a learning experience.
definitely. It just has
There are
to
a lot
be
of
in
people.
English.
I love watching. Yeah, absolutely. I love watching animated films. Always have. So I'll always get these things from my mom ki, oh, you've grown so old and you still watch all these cartoon movies, right? And I was like, yeah, but don't see it like that, right? Just think of it that this is also a media. They're also talking about something. There are some kind of morals at the end of it. Language is good. You will get to learn so many of these new Gen Z, Gen Alpha words nowadays with TV also. So that's the reason why it's very important to keep your research on. And research could look different for different people.
And true, and there's also shows like Curly Tales is there, and then there's a small series like Asian Paints. They show their house, and they are talking in English basically. So there are
Yeah,
so many options. You can just watch. You don't even have to search. So but whatever you come across which is in English and it interests you, definitely why not?
I always tell people honestly, like because I watch a lot of anime as well, that always sub over dub. If you don't understand, read the subtitles, but don't
Yes.
go for dubbing, because dubbing makes it too easy, takes away the charm of some things. Also, I know that people will not agree with me entirely. But for example, I went to watch the film Kantara with my husband and friends. We watched in Hindi. But as a Kannada speaker, I took my parents and we watched in Kannada. And I watched both the Hindi and Kannada in 1 week, and I can't even tell you the difference is poles apart. The jokes are different, they sound different, the tone of the film is different, everything, right? Right from again tonality to words to humor, everything stands differently. So don't miss out on these opportunities. I always tell people you can't understand what they're saying, read the subtitles. So I hear people complaining, going like, yeah, but I'm here to watch, not to read. Sure, if your idea is only entertainment, do what you have to do. But put that little effort. The person who's made it has made in a language, right? So that is the essence that they are going for. So it happens the same with Spanish movies and international films also, like Korean. I mean, so many people watch Korean shows, right? There is a beauty in that language. They have used a certain word in their language for a certain reason. Dubbing sometimes takes away the charm from it and makes it very flat. I feel the tonality in dubs are like this.
Yes.
They're just reading out what they're doing. They're trying, but this with any language, right, or any expression, it doesn't come across.
True. Yes. So we have ran out of time, just 2 minutes in hand. So it was a lovely conversation, and I really appreciate you joining me today, like removing your time and having this session. So, is there anything else you would like to add to it?
Anushana, thank you so much for having me. I have gone through your videos. I love how you make these snippets and you tell kids and people like what to do and how to say this and what words you could use there. So I went through all your videos. Absolutely great content. And I think people just have to keep at it. Just keep watching, keep replaying, do shadow practice, do mirror practice, and things will happen automatic. Remember, I feel like it's a journey, and sometimes people are looking for immediate result, but trust me, it is worth the wait. Put that effort, and one day, one certain day, language will become subconscious to you. You'll be dreaming in English, you will be praying in English, and you won't even realize when that happens. But till that, the journey, just keep at it. Don't let it go. We're Indians. We are blessed with having multiple languages in our arsenal, and English is just another addition you can make. So be proud of it, and let's just put all our resources together and just become great and fluent in English as well.
That's amazing. Thank you so much again, and you have a good day.
You too, Shanta. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.